Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Woohoo! What a gorgeous day to celebrate this day. Easter. Yeah. So have you guys been doing a little spring cleaning in your consciousness? We talked about last week, sweeping away the old limited ideas, that old kind of junky thinking that's kind of been piling up in the background. We talked about doing that last week. We're in process, right? Good, because we want to create this clear, clean space, this clean, clear foundation on which to grow new, more empowering thoughts today. Okay? But first, before we get started, I want to be real with you and let you know, because I know many of you have been holding my brother and my family in prayer. I want to let you know that he passed this week. Peacefully, surrounded by people who loved him, his best friend holding his hand. And we had the memorial service yesterday, and it was just beautiful, and his spirit was just so very present. And, I had an opportunity to go down to the beach. One of the places, he was a surfer, one of the places he used to surf in Manhattan Beach. And it was just a perfect day. I mean, it was sparkling, and the waves were just breaking perfectly, and there was a whole group of surfers out there that were taking that wave. And I thought, yeah, that's my brother's spirit. He's right there, just taking that wave, that wave into spirit. So my brother-in-law said, this is both incredibly sad and at the same time a blessing that he's released from that painful body, that painful experience of the last 3 months. And I was like, yeah, I feel both of those things at the same time. Both this enormous sadness in the tragedy of it, and also filled with the presence of infinite love that has showed up in so many ways in the past 3 months. Just in so many ways. The healings that have happened, the healing that happened with my brother and I, just that connection, that pure, unadulterated, unconditional love and forgiveness. Our relationship, had some moments, right? As we do with our siblings, right? And there was just this forgiveness that felt like it was really going both ways. And my daughter, who had an opportunity to create a relationship with her, her uncle. And it was a beautiful, again, just this incredible love that transpired. And, it just really woke her up to a level of compassion that I had never seen before. And the friendships that that were formed from people in his spiritual community that I had a lot of judgment around in the past. And what I found out when I got to know these people, oh my God, they were just the most loving, caring people I have ever seen. I mean, it just was a witness to what loving service really is. Just pure loving service. I mean, just the healing of all of that was just so, that was it. That was it. It's that awesome beauty, that awesome moral beauty. Remember we talked about that a few weeks ago, that awesome moral beauty that can arise from the depths of despair. And since it's Easter, we can talk about it also in terms of a willingness to see the resurrection, even when you're in the crucifixion, as Waldo was, mentioning. Just in the moment of crucifixion, being willing to see and open to the resurrection. That's kind of the goal, right? And not to minimize, I don't want to minimize the enormous sadness of really any tragedy. We want to, in fact, embrace our humanness, embrace the human feelings that come up, and let them come up and process them. We don't, I've said many times, it's important to find appropriate ways to release those powerful negative emotions, otherwise they become toxic to our body and our mind. And we don't want to do a spiritual bypass and just, affirm all is well, when we're in the thick of it, in the depths of despair. We want to allow, honor the humanness and allow that stuff to pass through, and it does, right? It's all temporary. It all passes through. You don't want to hold on to it. It just passes through, and then we can begin to step into that resurrection consciousness and experience. And, frankly, there are a number of tragedies that are happening, in our world today. And we want to be present to it, not sucked down into it. This is really important, but present to it. Another school shooting, kids killed. And, geez, it's easier to buy a gun now than ever. It's just, it's madness. A war that doesn't seem to have an end. Thousands of people are dying and displaced, and, tornadoes ripping through the country, just leaving devastation in its wake. Effects of climate change that are just happening, right now, everywhere. And so every day we hear about another tragedy after another. But what we don't hear about is all of the healings that are happening. We don't hear about all of the friends and the neighbors that get together and share of their love in ways that they've never done before. We don't hear about the families that get reunited and that a renewed sense of appreciation and love that can happen in the midst of something like that. We don't hear about the solutions that are right now coming online to mitigate climate change. And it is. There are. Which is why, so we want to balance it out. And I know some of us subscribe to Good News Network, right? But my recent favorite is David Byrne of the Talking Heads, who has a newsletter called Reasons to be Cheerful. Reasons to be cheerful. And this is all solutions to problems that we're facing. All solutions that people are doing now. They're creating now. They're in work now. And it's just so good to, focus on the solution. It's just in Los Angeles, and, you hear on the news the last few months, the devastating rains and the mudslides, and they're too much, and the floodings, But they don't tell you that, now all of the lakes and all the reservoirs are all filled back up again. They are no longer in a drought, and it's beautiful. Los Angeles is beautiful and green, and flowers are popping all over, so we could look at that. So how do we hold both of these things at the same time, right? The tragedy, the enormous sadness that we experience in this human, this human experience can be very painful. And the tremendous joy that is available to us that we can feel on a spring day like this. And the love and the love and the compassion that we give and receive from family and friends and strangers that fill our life with meaning. So how do we balance those things? Well, we are limitless spiritual beings living in this human, three-dimensional, limited realm. And the duality of that reality is this experience in this human dimension. You know, that's the reality here. And yet, who we truly are limitless spiritual beings. But in this physical human realm, you know, the predominant idea here is one of separation. It's fear of others. It's fear of people who are different than us. It's surviving and winning and competing and getting and holding on to and protecting our little piece. You know, that is the predominant consciousness of the planet. And it is from that consciousness, that we create a lot of the challenges that we're experiencing now. And really, since the beginning of time, right? And then, every now and again, throughout the ages, a master appears and lifts the curtain for us. Buddha, Krishna, Lao Tzu, Muhammad, Moses, Jesus, saints and sages throughout the ages, you know. They lift the curtain, they lift the veil. And the common message is that this little human three-dimensional realm is not all there is. And the striving and the competing and the fear and the, you know, holding on to protecting our little thing keeps us trapped. That whole thing keeps us trapped. And we get lost. So, it being Easter, we'll mention Jesus now. I thought it'd be appropriate today. So, part of his message was also that this human, three-dimensional, you know, limited realm is only such a small slice, just only such a small part of what reality is. That in fact, there is this eternal, infinite, boundless realm of infinite love and light. That's our true home. That's who we truly are. And he showed us how to be reborn into that consciousness, into that Christ nature, our own Christ nature. You know, and this crucifixion, resurrection cycle that we're in. And whether you take that literally or it's, you know, more metaphorical for you, you know, in unity, we're free to, you know, see that any way we want. You know, you really are. So, in that is this idea of lifting the veil and revealing that high, infinite, universal, divine realm of love and light. And to bring that into our own human crucifixion experience. As Waldo, you were mentioning that. You know, bringing that in, that's the point. Bringing that higher dimension of healing, love, and light that is our true nature into the experience of crucifixion. That's the point. If we have eyes to see, ears to hear, you know, Jesus always was talking about, yeah, they have ears but can't hear, eyes but, you know, can't see. So how do we open our eyes and begin to see this? Begin to hear it? Through spiritual practice. That's what spiritual practice is for. That's what it's for. To help us become conscious, to help us awaken. You know, and then when we do, when we awaken to that higher in those moments, you know, those moments where you just go, oh, yes, there is this incredible oneness, incredible love that is here. when we become aware of that, our charge is then to bring that into our lives, to live more abundantly, and also to share that love with others, to share it with the world. You know? That's the goal. And so, what about this idea of rolling away the stone? Let's talk about that for a minute. So, the symbolism of rolling away the stone. Well, the stone kind of represents being stuck in this human-only thinking, in this, unwillingness to see that there's anything more, that there is another dimension of love. That solid, immovable insistence that this spiritual, this physical world that we experience with our senses is all there is. It's kind of an unwillingness to see, oneness. And with that consciousness, that is immovable. That you can't move it, right? But when we crack open the doors of perception, we crack it, and I have to say, honestly, sometimes we're cracking over, it's our hearts. When our hearts are cracking open, when our hearts are breaking open, there's an opening that's created, right? And we awaken. And we awaken. And when we become aware of who we truly are, and we embrace that highest divine self, at the same time embracing our humanness, embracing our humanness, not denying that, embracing all of it, and knowing that that highest divine presence within us can get us through anything. Can get us through anything. Then we can push that stone away with a finger. And then with spiritual practice, we connect with that highest divine self, and we activate all of our energy centers. Right? We talked about that before. Those 12 powers that we have. We activate those energy centers, connecting with that spiritual, all of this through spiritual practice, right? Then we can become the powerful co-creators that we were designed to be. And we can call forth a blessing. We can call forth a healing. We can live into this idea that Jesus said that he who believeth in me, and when he said me, he wasn't talking about his personality, but me being the representation of this infinite, universal, divine possibility, this divine love and light that we all are. That those things that I do, you shall also do, and even greater things shall you do. That's the fruits of our spiritual practice. That's the fruits of our spiritual practice. Just breathing in that healing love and light that we are opening up to, that eternal, infinite, boundless dimension of healing love and light. This is what it all represents. That resurrection consciousness. That's what we are embodying here and sharing in joy with each other. Namaste.